You see a lot of people saying like so and so is good and so is bad, or like if there's a Lee Sin play, posted on Reddit or something, there'll be comments saying like it was good or bad or whatever. And I think we do this without thinking about what we actually mean by good or bad, so it might be worth thinking about what we actually mean. And what I'm gonna say is that it's all relative. So I want to start with the distinction between objective and subjective. So something objectively true is just a fact, like Lee Sin dodge or flash to dodge the Ash arrow, whereas something subjective is sort of in the eye of the beholder, like Lee Sin's flash impressed me. So plays do have some objective qualities to them, like it's just true that Lee Sin's flash dodged the Ash arrow, but I don't think that makes the play objectively impressive or unimpressive because there's nothing inherent in the play that makes it impressive or not. Like if what I mean by wow, that play was impressive was just that play impressed me. There has to be a person to be impressed by it. Like the play on its own just is. There's nothing about it that makes it necessarily good or bad. What it does have is qualities that people can judge as good or bad. Like let's say, Insect cues to the enemy AD carry, Ward hops behind them and kicks them into his team. It's the same play in 2013 or 2017, but it was way more impressive in 2013 than in 2017. And the reason for that is his plays don't just exist in a vacuum with, impressive or unimpressive qualities. They're judged by people who consider them good or bad based on their own standards that they use to judge plays. So, perception of a play as good or bad is a combination of the play and the viewer. I think this is like reader response theory or something. I don't know. Anyways, the point is it depends on the people watching the play. Like, what determines if a play is good or not is how the audience receives what's in the play, not just the stuff that is in it considered like in isolation. Like I think a good example of this is how in Challenger calling someone a diamond is like an insult. It's basically calling them like absolute trash and garbage at the game. But diamond at the top, 2% or 5% or some small percent of players, and there are tons of people who see it as good and would love to be diamond. So it's relative to their standard of what they consider normal play. And I think that's the key part, that it's a person judging a play in the context of what they consider a normal standard of play. So, they compare it to some average level, and that's how they tell if it's good or not. If it's an insect in a time where nobody knows what an insect even is, and the normal level of Lee Sin is much lower than it is now, then relative to that level, it's an amazing play. But if it's an insect compared to like our modern standard, where Lee Sin, Lee Sin plays are like have to be crazy, like compared to that standard, it's just a boring play that everyone and their grandmother should be able to do. So I think this happens when we talk about pro play. Like literally every single player to ever play an LCS, like even just an LCS, is insanely good by average standards. So to say something meaningful about them, they have to be held to an insanely high standard that they can actually be bad relative to, which I think is something people should remember before flaming pros too hard, that, you know, we're holding them to such a high standard, and just playing like average as a pro is actually average relative to this incredibly high average. Um, or, another example is those obnoxious comments people post on every play, like, such and such was wrong, it wasn't a good play because the enemy played it terribly, and so on. And, like, the fact that other people liked it meant that relative to their standards, it was good. Like, you don't have to make, like, a million snotty comments about who anyone who likes the play must literally suck and all that's, like, all that's doing is telling them their subjective feelings are wrong, which is just impossible by definition, and basically just calling them bad because their standards are so low. So, anyways, that rant aside, though, the point is when you're calling a play good or bad, there's nothing inherently good or bad about that play. All it has is qualities you can judge relative to your standard from all the other plays you've seen.